And I also did an important project at that time. Was called Tatri Realizing Self, which was a production directed by J. Shailaja. And she was a young graduate from National School of Drama at that time. And she brought some NST graduates and we did a play. Jyoti Basu, who was a painter, who was also there in the design team. So we kind of both of us designed that work. He was mostly designed the backdrop, and I designed the objects and the costume. So we were kind of both of the scenographers. We traveled a little bit with that play. Jyoti was doing some scenic work for Asianet. He also almost stopped painting for about 7 years because you know that the history of that, what happened to K.P. Krishna Kumar, the radical movement. I mean, all of them were part of the Baroda school, and after the death of K. Krishna Kumar, there was a bit of silence, and many of them could not really practice much. And Jyoti took his career as scenic designer at Asianet. And then this work was also an important work for Jyoti. And I remember Jyoti, and I used to meet, and he used to invite me to his place. And I remember one of his initial large canvas, that amazing surreal kind of landscape, you know. And I was sitting in front of that, and we chatting and talking, all of that. But that over. And I also directed a play for Abhinay at that time called Kamala. I don't know whether you have seen it. Have you?
Yeah, I haven't seen that particular one.
V.C. Harris translated the text for me. Vijay Tendulkar's Kamala I'm talking about. It was an interesting play that time. It was a realistic play. A box stage theatre with a living room, staircase, kitchen, all of that. D. Raghuthaman acted in it. Kanik Sudhi was the Kamala. And Anil Nadumangadu was another actor. Shailaja P. Ampu, who is also now she's a non-actress. She was one of another small character she did. Amal Piraj, Dev is also an actor. He was also an actor in that play.
I see.
There's a Trijinath who passed away. Yes, you know. And he was also an actor in that. Later Amal joined the team. And then Sushma. Sushma is actually a radio news reader, you remember?
Yes.
So Sushma was very famous news reader.
Okay.
And Sushma acted as the lead, one of the lead actors in the play.
I see.
At that time. And that was in 2002, I think. Then Abhilash Pillai directed a play based on I think Keshavadev's Tagari, that Totiyuda Magan.
Totiyuda Magan is by Tagari.
So Tagari's Scavenger's Son was adapted into stage. So I worked as the scenographer again. And by doing this was my third work in that way. Third work in the terms of large works. First is Siddhartha. Then is Tatri Realizing Self, and this Verdigris was called Clavo.
I see.
It was called Clavo. Name is Clav or Verdigris. And that play was the play which slowly transforming the language of the theatre, which I pursued lately. And that work happened in 2003, I still remember. It traveled, it went on to Almeida Festival in Portugal. Of course, it went to many festivals otherwise. Then by that time, I was already gained enough confidence to sustain in theatre. Almost my carpentry career, almost forgotten. It's not that I don't want to go back. I did not have time much, but I always did carpentry, but I didn't have much of time to focus on that part. Then 2003, I thought I should do a bit more and maybe study more on scenography, because my carpentry skills, which is about working with the space and materials,
Right.
woodworks, and my understanding on visual art, painting and sculpting,
Right.
color palettes, my familiarity with color palettes, and my theatre learning. I already by that time had a bachelor's, master's in the film degree.
Yeah.
I also had a thesis on adaptation or text work, dramaturgy.
Yeah.
So I start to feel I have a combination of different skills of handling a play,
Right.
which is very essential skills.
Right.
Of as a director, you have to work with the actors, and as a person who can write as a dramaturgy, design,
Right.
and all of that. And I kind of felt so much of confidence that I should maybe go somewhere abroad
Okay.
to study.
Right.
Then I discussed this with Abhilash Pillai, and Abhilash Pillai just came back from RADA, Royal Academy of Dramatic Art,
Okay.
studying,
London.
with the same scholarship, called Charles Wallace Industrial Scholarship.
I
said,
see.
Why don't you apply this?
You got it in which year?
2003.
Charles Wallace. Oh, okay.
I got
Okay.
So I applied for Charles Wallace.
Right. Right.
And by that time, Anuradha Kapoor was the director in NST.
Oh.
And I don't know if she was director, she was a professor there.
Oh.
She could liked my work because we have shown all these three works in Bharatanagar Mahotsav, one after other.
Oh.
It was a time that almost every year one of my productions will be going to NST festivals.
I see.
I was doing early years of festival, 20 years ago. So first year, I think Tatri, when that was initial inaugural Bharatanagar Mahotsav, I remember. 2000 or something, 22 years ago.
I see.
Then we brought Siddhartha there. Then we brought Verdigris there. So people in Delhi start to know my work as a designer. And at that time, these designs were quite different from the Delhi theatre circle or even theatre that was happening. It was the language was quite new for them.
Okay.
Some multimedia possibilities, a lot of object dramaturgy being used, costumes were quite new, we used different kind of materials. I liked exploring material with wood, sometimes, plastic, mat, kaya, rope.
Okay. And fiber also, I think you have used varieties of...
because I had this sort of maybe my experience in the field of this multiple experience of carpentry and as a builder and as a visual artist, and I could actually kind of bring all this together into theatre.
Okay.
So it was kind of new for me.
Right.
How do you make a costume out of fiberglass, or how do you make a costume out of hair? Was very rarest of rare material.
Right.
Leather.
Right.
I was used in making costumes, and that was time to grass. I made an entire costume out of ramacham, the roots of a tree, for example.
Yeah, right.
Beard, entire beard and hair out of ramacham. And so it was kind of an interesting experimentation that period of time. Dry leaves, and so it was quite a quite interesting time. Then when I applied for this Charles Wallace fellowship, they immediately gave it to me.
Okay.
It was very pleasant surprise.
Even before that, you got the Kerala Sangeeta
I
Nadava
got
Academy
the
Award.
Angad Academy Award later actually, in 2012, much later. 2003. And I got this award, and they told me in my interview itself, it's quite good work you're doing, and we will support you. And I was very happy. I was thrilled actually.
Okay.
And then I applied, and I was like a young fellow who had no exposure, to anything. I had no English language, and I was struggling. I was just learning all these things with my experiences. The only confidence I had was with my carpentry. So my skill I really knew. I could all the time go back and I can trust that skill I have. And then I have what I built with my scenographic understanding, all of that. When I went abroad to London, and I got a place in St. Martin's College of Art and Design. I was over the moon because the world class.
Yes, London University of Arts.
That's right, University of the Arts, London. And St. Martin is the big school in the world. And I landed there in the middle of this incredible art school. with my bag and my checked shirt. There was 30 students there, and I was one among them. And students from across the world. And that was my maybe exposure to the world theatre.
Okay.
I was there for a year initially as a student of St. Martin's.
That was a master's
It's
program.
a master's program.
In performance studies.
This was MA scenography.
Oh, scenography, okay.
So that scenography program took me different places.
Okay.
It allowed me to go to 3 months to a placement program, which we could travel to another country. And I went to Poland at that time.
I see.
And in Poland, I went and I saw the works of Kantor, Tadeusz Kantor and Grotowski. Both of them were passed away by the time when we arrived there.
I see.
But we could actually spend in their studio, the laboratory of Grotowski in Wrocław, where we were actually set premised in Academy of Arts and Puppet Theatre. And we traveled to Krakow second, where Kantor used to work. These great two directors, post-war directors in Europe, we managed to fabric their work. Deeply influenced my theatre later.
Right.
Because they were working in a very most difficult conditions, with a broken theatre, burned down wood pieces, put together scenography, and because there was nothing left after Second World War. But the theatre was so powerful and so strong. And one man, Grotowski, made his theatre called Poor Theatre, and Kantor called his theatre Dead Theatre. So that was the time, there are lots of transition that took place in my language of theatre. I returned after 3 months later. I did a lot of work there in 3 months, and I returned back to London. And my final project I did, then there was a gap of silence. That was in 2005. Then I had an offer from the professor Pete Brook. Pete Brook told me, why don't you teach scenography here for some time?
I see.
So there was somebody, an Israeli guy who used to work with him. It was more of like a studio tutor. That he needs somebody with a overall skills. Somebody who can take care of the construction, somebody who can take care of the lighting, costume, design, all of that. It is an overall person. And I was quite skilled, as I said, I could immediately resolve many problems.
Right.
So then I said, oh, that's fantastic. And I put in to extend 2 years of visa, and I decided to stay. I was teaching. I was a studio tutor, school associate lecturer come studio tutor. 2 years I taught till 2007. Then I came, in my mind I started to think about why don't I pursue a PhD. Because I had an initial plan to do PhD, and interestingly, I actually joined for a PhD in MG University School of Letters in 2003.
Oh, I see. With whom it was?
It was in 2003 after my MPhil I joined for a PhD.
Who was the supervising teacher?
Umar Tarman.
Oh, I see.
I just joined.
What was the topic?
I thought it was an extension of my MPhil dissertation.
Okay, adaptation process.
Yeah, it was, but I was not sure that I really want to do it because I knew that this is not really my cup of tea. That I could spend too long time in libraries and reading books and writing a thick thesis work. It was not impossible task for me. The reason why I was desired at that time to do it because it was an escape point. I could leave and I can it's more of a safe haven for me. It's like a nest.
Right.
Where I can feel more safe with my, intellectual friends and so on, academics and great minds. I could spend time with them. I feel safe there. But then I went to London and I did all of that in 2007. I felt that I could do a practice-based PhD,
Yes.
where I don't need to write thick thesis, but I make my production.
Yeah.
Then I thought that is fantastic. Then I joined a PhD program at Wimbledon College of Art.
Okay.
At that time, some very important scenographers were there in Wimbledon College of Art. David Burrows was my director of my studies. Michael Pavelka is a very important scenographer.
Right.
Was there. Jane Collins was there as a scenography professor. And David was my supervisor. And we had a very interesting collaboration. And again, most of these places wherever I went, they took me in, and they never actually kind of treated me as like a student.
Okay.
Because I had a good career by the time when I reached there. So they also offered me a job to teach as well. So in parallel, I used to teach younger students, like foundation students, graduate students, scenography, and I was doing a PhD with them. So then I had a job at Wimbledon, St. Martin's, and I also taught a little bit at Chelsea College of Art.
Okay.
A course in Camberwell.
All production-based creative.
It's more of like a scenography, not a product, more small projects. Short courses, and as part of the coursework and all of that. Never actually full-time a professor or anything. It was more of like a studio tutor, a social lecture, kind of thing, along with my PhD.
So students from various parts of the world.
Of course, it was like that. These all are very prominent schools in the world. Chelsea College of Art, Camberwell College of Art, Wimbledon College of Art, St. Martin's, and this all four colleges I taught. Then in between, I had an opportunity to teach in Venice, the College of Art, Academy of Art in Venice. And that happened through my colleague, my friend, Andrea Cusumano, who was a great visual artist, theatre maker from Italy, who was also working with Hermann Nietzsche, who is a great actionist from Austria. I also had an opportunity to work with Nietzsche sometime. I went work with him with one of his action, Nietzsche in his Prinzendorf, is a place where he lived. And I traveled to Austria, and Andrea was there, and we worked some time together. And Andrea invited me to teach this place in Italy. So that was a great time in Venice. So I could travel to Venice every year in summer, and I teach this course. And I come back
for a couple of months every year.
Every year.
During summertime.
Yeah, I was more of like a holiday time. It's just by the sea, and I used to stay in a small island. And we take a vaporetto boat, and it was a great time because of the. Venice is a place, a magical city with all these great Renaissance masters. Once lived there, Michelangelo, Raphael, Leonardo da Vinci. These are not just names. They are there. They are wherever you walk. Their real work is standing there. Churches, cafes, restaurants, amazing food, time, good wine. You could take your bottle and go and buy wine for a couple of euros. Because it was that kind of city. It is. And after 3 years, so by the time 2012, all reached 2012, and I finished my PhD, I had to submit my thesis for three productions was my part of my PhD. And 2009, as part of my PhD, I did my first work. And my PhD topic was, what was my PhD topic? I must forget.
Production based?
It was a production based. I think it's a spatial problem surrounding Indian proscenium theatre. It was more on scenography language, and I forgot the actual title of my PhD. The PhD title, we're trying to find a very complex title.
Yeah, exactly. It's a matter of formality only. What do you create that is more important?
Make it look good. And so it was on scenography, and Spinal Cord was my first production. As part of the PhD project.
So and it was first staged in Itfok, I think.
2009. I came here and
I have
we
seen
had
it.
to kind of launch a company. By the time
That Oxygen Theatre company
Oxygen
was
Theatre
you
company
created.
was launched.
But that was in Delhi, I think.
No, here.
Here it is. You launched it here, but
Here
you have taken it to Delhi now.
Not really.
Okay.
It's always based here. The Oxygen Theatre company was based here. It was Trichur based company.
Still, it is here.
Always here.
Okay.
Delhi, I have
Trichur
another
based.
group called Performance Studies Collective.
Oh, I see.
Who direct Cabinet of Local Category. It's called here. Dark Things. Nationalism Project. That's a Delhi-based group.
Oh, I see.
Oxygen Theatre company always based here.
Right,
This is K. Gopalan, Jos D. Raphael, James Celia, Jos Kochi, myself. We are all the team. Adya George.
Oxygen.
Oxygen. Oxygen Theatre company produced this Spinal Cord. First production. And again, that production was in 2009. Again, we kind of, it was in production that time, put a new language to theatre. At that time, it was a kind of influential work. We traveled a lot, as you said. It was the second Mahindra Festival. Not Mahindra Festival, we went on to win 7 awards, including Best Play, Best Director, Best Actor. Most of the awards picked by that play. And also performed here, Itfok. Then we did a Pirkin, which was a commission project by Delhi Ibsen Festival Committee and the Norwegian Embassy. And that was my second project of my PhD. And again, Pirkin was also performed here. Anil Nadumangada, Sunil Sugada was an actor with this Spinal Cord. And many Pradaban, Case Pradaban, whose work is here this year, Nilavanigal Marmaringla Crossing. It was all my team actors actually. Sunil Sugada was one of the lead actors. It was all kind of learning time for them. And then Pirkin was second production, and I did a third production was Uberoi. Uberoi was I did that in National School of Drama in Delhi.
I see.
But by the time Andrea became a director, she invited me to direct a play for us. So I went to direct this Uberoi, which many people have not seen in Kerala. We did a very series of 10 shows there. It was a good production. Then 2012, after that, I have become very much of I have become a person who want to pursue theatre very seriously as a language. I have reached that point, I felt. Because I had this very experience of carpentry to painting to that. And I also have an academic life. I have actually almost like a cycle of time you pass through. You have an MA, 2 MA you did, and MA in theatre and scenography, and an MPhil, and a PhD, and a bachelor's, and a lot of time of teaching. After all this, I still don't have a career. I still don't know how to earn money.
A professional one.
So then I applied for a job in Ambedkar University. Shamanon was the Vice Chancellor. And a Shivaji Panikar, who was just had a controversy with the Baroda School of Art, and he came to Ambedkar to piece all together, establish this School of Culture and Creative Expressions, where I am at the moment for the last 10 years. We had a lot of work there. We did a great teamwork, and we established this Youngsters Performance Studies Collective, a group
in Delhi,
and who produced the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, Dark Things project. It's called in here. They also did a nationalism project. The 4 major projects they produced last 10 years. Now, of course, in between, I have directed the Legends of Gasak. Coming back to Kerala again, I worked with many other star wars like Nilaman Singh Chowdhury. We did 3 projects together. Anuradha and we together did 4 projects together. Abhilash and I collaborated 3 times together. Yeah, so in parallel, I work as independent scenographer, collaborating with other artists, but only selective artists.
Okay.
Mostly I worked with Anuradha Neelam and Abhilash. I worked with Jyotish for one work
Okay.
in my early career. Then I mostly direct my own shows.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is coming back to Itfok. It's a great thing. Trichur is my own town. I grew up here.
Yeah.
2014, I had an audition to direct. And after about 8 years later, when I returned here, theatre has changed.
Right.
The festival itself has transitioned. Now, yeah. So it's always we're halfway through now.
Okay. Okay.
I think it's an exciting time.
Definitely. And also it is not just exciting, it's also a testing and challenging time as well for India and also for Kerala. What is your opinion about theatre and arts? How can we survive, or what is the future of theatre and arts in India, where we are experiencing unimaginable, unprecedented kind of totalitarian tendencies and a lot of what you called power monopolies and very evil acts of political and socio-political and cultural turmoils and turbulences and problems are engulfing us. What is the future of theatre in such darker or problematic times, according to you?
I mean, theatre and art will survive as long as there are people who are there to do it. And I don't think state has much role in it. Never had a role in any part of the world. It's about artist and art. It's between these two. Even the audience and spectators are hardly matters. Meaning, this really matters where you have a committed group of people who want to spend their time and create works. Rest will come along. Audience will come along. Media will come along. State will respond to it, wrongly or positively towards it. But it happens as long as there's artists. In India, of course, we are going through a very difficult time. It's a very totalitarian time, as you rightly said. But it's a challenge that artist has to face. And historically, we have faced it before, not just first time. In the world, if you look at, there are places artists have to face similar situations. In Iran, for example, such a totalitarian state where the filmmakers made some of the best cinemas in the history. They managed to make that cinema from a troubled land. They found different ways of telling stories. Art flourished there. And I think art will flourish as long as there are people, as I said, with a creative mind and aspirations and enthusiasm and energy and commitment. That will happen here too. The one thing is that artists need to be extremely vigilant and courageous to take it on, this regime. And it's our historical responsibility, I feel. If we don't do that, if we kneel in front of this fascist, I don't think the future generation would forgive you for that. We are not expecting everybody to become a Charlie Chaplin or a Bertolt Brecht, but at least that you have the responsibility to stand straight and keep making artwork and not obey easily the way that this regime wants you to be obeyed. Now, when we speak about that, what is happening in Kerala now, including this festival, has significance. Because we speak about India as a nation, a big nation, with a huge mechanism of power that trying to control the entire state, including this regions like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, all these states, to bring a singular
Centralized,
centralized
monolith of the
vision,
nation,
monolithic nation.
Yeah.
So there I feel the reason why a festival like Itfok or the state intervention, what that's happening in Kerala, is so important. Historically, it's very important. What we are doing now in Kerala will be remembered in the history.
Okay.
The future generation will respect what Kerala is doing now. I feel that Kerala, in a way, we are curating the consciousness of entire India. What entire India is supposed to be, what they're supposed to be doing, is what we're creating, what we're showing. These are the possibilities.
Okay.
What we want is a state or what a society, need to show and function such a way that you have a space for liberal thinking, a space for gathering, a space for creative exploration. And that is what this festival is all about. We bring people together here, artists from different disciplines, thinkers, philosophers, pedagogues, media personalities, scholars, students, women, men, from different quarters of life, not just from artist circle, and celebrate art and humanity together under the umbrella of humanity must unite. And that proposition what we are making is that this is a time if anyone with any humanity left should come together and make a point. This is the way we could actually function. We never function alone. Human beings need to be together.
Okay.
We are different kind of animal. We need to be together. We need to hold hands. This emotional well-being, intellectual well-being is possible when we are together. When you are alone, it's so difficult to sustain. And we need to cut across the borders from different disciplines of art. And we need to be together. That's a proposal what we are making from the
Of course, that collectivity and the culture of the multitude and the kind of celebration of the difference, as you have rightly pointed out, it is very important and multicultural in a democratic society. At the same time, are we really addressing the real issues of diversity and difference in our own society? For example, the kind of caste atrocities, the gender issues you have addressed in an earlier Itfok, transitions and gender, and you have curated that.
Yeah.
But the more pertinent and more deeply rooted question, the more burning issue of caste, can art in India address that particular issue of caste or theatre? Have you experienced the urgency of it?
Well, we do actually. I mean, it's an issue that, especially since I live in North India, in Delhi,
Right.
where such issues are more evident than in Kerala.
Right.
Of course, we are very much aware of that, and but whether we trying to address all of that in one go, sometimes it may not be possible to do that, and I don't think that we should try to resolve all the problems in one page. We have to take one by one. So once we did that 2014 edition where gender transition inspectorship was, our important focal point. But now, this edition, many of its issues been brought in together. And if you ask me, this particular this cast, the play that taking the issue of the cast,
Yeah.
not necessarily one particular play, but of course a play called Foul Play, Bindu Kumar's work.
Oh.
Bindu's work is his piece was Outcast,
Right.
which was here.
Right.
He's very Ambedkarite.
Oh.
So presenting Tanjeer's work, and he is himself an outcast from Bihar,
Okay.
because he's a left liberal director,
Okay.
and his progressive theatre has not been accepted in North much. So we bring him here
Okay.
and presented his work here.
Okay.
Or when we have a work by Muruga Bhupati's a play from Tamil Nadu,
Right.
for example.
Oh.
The politics of Muruga Bhupati's work, this powerful Dravidian culture, phenomenon, it's been presented here in our festival.
Right.
Or you look at the work of Lakshman KP's Kannada's piece, will be opening today.
Oh, right.
This all work has this sort of very strong Dravidian roots and culture in it.
Right.
It's not that outrightly we kind of sloganeering and propagandizing caste problems.
Right.
But I think that is not necessarily the most effectively such things can be discussed in art.
Right.
It has to be such an artistic and intellectual, philosophical way has to deal with it.
Right.
Then only it can reach up to the people. Otherwise, it can only work as like a WhatsApp message. And that's not what we, a festival like this will be trying to do.
Okay. So, what are your future plans, your dreams, and your goals, or you're looking forward to what kind of productions and new creations in theatre?
There are multiple projects I am part of at this moment of time. I am actually kind of thinking about directing this Uberoi once again, and this kind of changed political scenario.
Okay.
It's very political satire.
In Delhi or in Kerala?
Kerala,
okay.
Malayalam, with Oxygen Theatre
Oh,
Company.
right.
I had one set of reading already with my actors
Okay.
sometime back. I am also I just finished a collaborative project with Neelam Mansingh Chowdhury. We did a version of Hai Vadana, Girish Karnad's Hai Vadana.
Right.
I did scenography and we directed it. Just a few days back, it was opened in Bombay.
Okay.
I am part of another collaborative project with an African group of artists and thinkers, Arisitas, and Sumangala Damodaran, singer from Kerala, and Radha Kapoor, myself. We're working on an Othello project in Africa. I have started the groundwork of directing a cinema, which I have been working on some time for the last 2 years.
So on your own scripts?
I and P.S. Rafiq co-written the script.
Okay. Right. What is it on, this film? Is the title decided, or?
I will maybe talk about it in a later stage.
Okay.
But I only tell you that
broadly it is on?
It's a cinema, it's on a thriller.
It's
a cinema that will be going to the floor of filming soon.
Okay.
And many mainstream actors and people who are celebrated personalities will be part of this project.
Okay.
So that is the work.
Okay. Anyway, all the very best for your endeavors in the cinematic world as well, and a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much, Deepan.
Thank you very much.